everyone, that seems like a perfect time to transition over and consume it. Yeah, we're going live. Excellent. Everything seems to be working. So hi, everyone. Happy, what is it, Sunday? Today is Sunday. Yes, I hope you guys are having a good Sunday wherever, whenever it is, where you are. So I am running all kinds of late today. I have gotten several opportunities to be perfectly distracted this morning. And so as a consequence, the show is a little bit on the sloppy side. But I don't think you guys are too fussy. Because, I need to raise my standards. But, you guys are usually quite kind to me, regardless of what nonsense and rough... what's the word I'm looking for? Babbling comes out of my mouth. So who is a DN fan I see in the chat? Hello, how are you doing? I also see Sibwolf, hello, and the Lucky Wanderer, howdy, Mithril as well. Lovely to have you here. Well, alright, so let's talk a little bit about stuff. As I said, I'm running all kinds of late, so I'm actually still setting up the interface. I had this horrible situation. Well, it wasn't a horrible situation. Okay, first I should say, in terms of my schedule, I'm leaving for Amsterdam tomorrow, and I'm going to be there until Wednesday night. So I'm going to be out of commission. I'm not going to be doing much broadcast-wise, I'd imagine, for this week. And I'm also having to think too about what I want to do on my channel, because right. So should we have just a little blah blah talk? Had a blast yesterday. You went to a local Comic-Con and got a VA's autograph. And just derped around with friends. Oh, DN Fen, that sounds like a really good time. Just being with your mates, doing something nerdy. Ah, I'm jealous. Sibwolf writes, got this lovely new game called the Tank Mechanics Simulator. Now I understand much better the claim that German panzers were over-engineered. Okay. Now, that sounds interesting. I actually spent some of this weekend watching no commentary long plays. I don't know, there are video games on YouTube that people play, and then I just watch, because Netflix, I've kind of binged everything I wanted to. Yeah, so this week, as I said, I'm going to be heading off tomorrow to Amsterdam. I'm going to this workshop, storytelling with data. So, I'm not opposed to the concept. It's really important that people in the sciences understand how to communicate their findings. And a lot of times, when we get into the deep parts of our own results and our findings and the statistical methods behind them and the things that we controlled for and the concerns about endogeneity and all these other things that we want to make sure that we don't create erroneous models for and unreliable coefficients, we just stop talking English to normal people. So insofar as the workshop will have content about how to better communicate data, it's, I'm sure, going to be very useful. It's just that I've been traveling so much in the last year that the idea of being away from home is just exhausting to me. So, DN Fen says, it was awesome, big convention. But the big convention soon. I have to get working on a big costume project. Ooh, fun. Yes. And the Lucky Wanderer writes, I have an interview with potential honors supervisors, and I might get to do my preferred topic on the alt-right. Excellent. Specifically incels. Ooh. Want to do an analysis on their worldview. Well, Lucky Wonder, that sounds really interesting, and presumably you would be doing some sort of qualitative analysis of linguistics, like going and looking at the way that they frame issues or the types of language they use or the narrative, sort of I don't know if you know discourse analysis, what was it called? It's by James Gee, G-E-E. I think he teaches at Madison or taught at Madison when the book was written, and it just tells you ways of analyzing text and pictures and things in a way that allows you to systematize perhaps more qualitative and less quantitative information. But that sounds fascinating. If you end up going in that direction, I'd absolutely love to hear like what your methodology is going to be and how you're planning on, what sort of claims you're looking to make, or, in terms of, are you just saying, here are some case studies, or if you're going to be doing something a bit more rigorous. Discursive analysis, discursive psychology. Yeah. Cool. That sounds really interesting. If when you're done, if you get it all approved, and hopefully you would, and should, but if you get it approved, send it over. It'd be interesting to look at. I looked at doing an onion night. Oh, but it's so much work. Oh, from the Game of Thrones, that onion night. Anyway, so that's hello chat. I guess we can talk about other things. So yes, in terms of this week, I'm gone a lot, although I'll probably have some exciting insights on telling stories with data when I get back. Won't that be exciting? What else? Oh my gosh. So did I tell you guys I got my homework in at like 1:30 in the morning last time? The copyright course, as you would expect, is getting increasingly complicated. And I can actually show you. Because we've got time to fill before we get to the Trump stuff. I usually like to do at least 10 minutes of nonsense. Yeah, we're getting almost to 10 minutes of me doing nonsense. Now, I won't play the sound for you guys. But yeah, I've been, again, working with the Doodly program and interested in working on that. This was Anatomy of a Creative Commons license, which is I was working on till 1:30 in the morning. I'm going to mute this, though. I don't know if I can mute it. Maybe not. Probably not. Sorry, guys. Oh, no, I did, because I don't have the desktop audio on. So, yes, I spare you my audio file. Oh, now I hear it. Where is it coming out of? That's interesting. Anyway, there was a lot of stuff in this video about different types of elements of a license. Oh, shut up. Ugh. Right. So I'm learning a lot about non-derivative licenses and non-commercial licenses and commercial licenses and derivatives allowed and share alike and different versions of it. And it's taking up a lot of my brain power. But it's interesting to work with Doodly, and currently I'm kind of paying out of pocket. I don't know how much longer I want to do that, but it's an interesting software to work with. All right, so that seems like enough fluff, enough 10 minutes of fluff. Let's talk a little bit about politics. And I think, there's so much going on. It's hard to keep track of everything. We only have so much attention. We almost only have so much energy, and especially emotional energy, to deal with these things. So I guess one of the things is we should mention the Nevada results. I actually haven't looked to see what the final results are because they were coming in all last night, and I went to bed, 1:30 in the morning, and I wasn't even sure that the Nevada caucus promised to have their results out, although I think they're able to declare a winner based on the distribution. Nevada, not just Nevada, I need caucuses. All right, here's BBC. See what they have to say. Maybe later. So, now where's the data protection thing? I'm not going to get one of those too. Nevada caucuses, who won and who lost. Along with a few far-flung U.S. island territories, only 4 states are still using caucuses. Yeah, and there's a real discussion. I know that the Bernie people liked caucuses last time around because they did them, but we're seeing real flaws with the caucus system. And also, it seems every time a local party caucus has a problem, the DNC gets blamed by burners. So it's why don't we just get rid of them, because they're just causing problems and undermining people's faith in their local party. Anyway, so despite reported glitches, a few caucus sites settled by high card draw and plenty of calls to the state party hotline for advice, the Nevada results trickled in throughout the afternoon on Saturday as well into the evening and stretching into the morning hours. That's when I was asleep. Commentary. That's not in the article. Before the day was over, it became increasingly clear who the biggest winners and losers would be. So, the big winner would be Bernie. It should be interesting. I don't think that he ever was Bernie ever in the lead against Hillary in 2016? Real clear, because I don't know that he's actually ever had to face being the front runner. And being the front runner is not like being a challenger. We've seen, as everyone's come up into the front runner status, that how you get looked at and treated is different, and you get more criticism and review. It is super crappy day out. Like, really, really windy, wet, and blech. Maybe I will show you guys the corset I bought for my party tonight later on. But Real Clear Politics 2016 Dem primary averages. I'm because I'm trying to think if Bernie was ever ahead at any point in the 2016 race. And I'm looking for the time series. Yeah, this is interesting. This will be really interesting. You can see right here that last time around, Hillary Clinton was so this is out in 2015, long before she ran, and then the Benghazi stuff, the taxpayer-funded stuff started, and you can see her favorability is going down. And Bernie never was a frontrunner in 2016. So we don't know how he's going to react to being the frontrunner, and certainly it's going to involve a lot more criticism than he's received to this point. So we'll see how he handles it. We saw that, like when Elizabeth Warren started taking the lead and she put out her plan with actual numbers and spelled things out, she got a lot of pushback and she didn't quite bounce back from that. Kamala Harris had her moment early on in the debates. She didn't really capitalize on that. Pete Buttigieg had a moment between Iowa and New Hampshire. And so, as everyone kind of takes their turn as the front runner, how they handle the pressure and the criticism is part of the process. And because Bernie was never the front runner, he's never had to handle that smoke. So let's see how he does. So 4 years ago was the moment Hillary began to turn the tide against Sanders. This time it could be evidence that his surge is real. I know that people are saying that, but I think we need to see what happens in a week's time, because a week is a very long time. In politics, caucus entrance, did they anything here about the you guys not have the caucus results in terms of the actual number of delegates? Oh, that's disappointing. All right, so yeah, he's done better in Nevada than he's done in prior races. It's also there was an interesting point made that I think is worth noting when it comes to looking at where Bernie gets his support. He gets it from overwhelmingly in terms of the distribution from younger supporters rather than older supporters. Although he is starting to get some more older voters. But the other thing too is when it comes to the Hispanic demographic, the Hispanic or Latina or Latinx population in the U.S. is also younger than the rest of the country. So there's also, you could say, there might be a conflation there that because Sanders does well with younger voters, and younger voters, the Hispanic voters are also younger on average than whites or blacks or Asians in the population, that it would make sense that he would have a quite large support from the Hispanic vote if we just go by age stuff, that he's more likely to appeal to younger people. I'm also going to say that if you are counting on younger people to, it is a truism of politics. If you are counting on people under the age of 40 to win you the election, you're going to lose. People who are under the age of 40 and their turnout, especially under the age of 25, these are the kind of numbers that tip a candidate into victory if they have locked up regular voters. But younger voters are not reliable. 18 to 27, these are the least reliable voters. And the most reliable voters turning out at 60% and things are older people. So Bernie is going to have to address this in his campaign going forward, because if he can't get on board middle-aged people like me and older people like my dad, then it's going to be a second term of Trump. But we'll see how he does as a front runner. He doesn't seem to handle criticism very well. So, all right. So why did Joe Biden get Joe Biden, in my opinion, he promised his donors he was going to come in second. So, okay. Looks like he did. Maybe or is he, like I say, ever since Joe Biden's struggles in Iowa presaged a downward spiral for his presidential hopes, his team pointed to black voters as his firewall, an ethnic base of support that would pick pick him up after rough stretches in predominantly white first two states. While Biden appeared destined for a distant second in Nevada, with former Pete Buttigieg nipping at his heels, he finished at the top of the pack with 10% of the voters there who are black, suggesting his firewall hopes weren't entirely unfounded. All right, this is really, where's my Steve Kornacki? This is what I need Steve Kornacki to break this down for me, because this BBC thing, I need to know numbers, I need to know percentages. You're going back candidate by candidate, and that's not helpful whatsoever. All right, where's my Steve Kornacki? Oh, I see. The results are coming in slowly. That was only 7 hours ago, so... all right, let's see. Okay, CNN has a projection. Let's see what they're projecting. Maybe get some real actual numbers instead of that whatever. I don't even know what that crap was. The BBC was putting out. Yay! Yes, this is what I'm looking for. Numbers, data. Though former Vice President. Oh, now I can hear the CNN guy talking. Who is talking? Shut your pie hole. You're gonna get me flagged down. Quiet. Right. Though former Vice President Joe Biden appeared to have the lead in the polls as late as January, Sanders made an enormous organizing push beginning in the middle of last year. I'm sorry, I found that really highly entertaining. That in that phrase you actually get 3 time points. But look at it. Sanders has made an enormous organizing push beginning in the middle of last. Beginning, middle, last. Sorry, this is the kind of linguistic and language stuff I find highly entertaining. And the fact that they used those 3 time points in the same sentence, I find that funny. Advertising in Spanish, not only in television. Oh, yeah. Numbers! All right. So with 50% of the precincts in, Bernie's county delegates is going to be like somewhere around the 40s. Biden 19.2. Yeah, he managed to pull in second, which the early vote had him like a distant fourth. I also think that Warren would have received more of a bounce from her, like A.B. Klobuchar did last time around, had there not been so much early voting. I think that had it been on the day kind of caucusing, I actually think Warren probably would have done much better, but I'm glad to see her in fourth. I'm hoping that right here in the end, she's going to start making another move to try to, because I don't think Biden is the person. I'm not jazzed about Buttigieg. Klobuchar can't win, and nobody else is viable. So, I mean, I'd like to see at least Warren make a push here to try to put some stuff out there. Basically, I think Bernie would be a disaster. It's not like this is a secret. I think his nomination guarantees a Trump second term. I think that currently he is unelectable because his turnout isn't up as he promised, and he's relying on the least reliable voters. And I'm already getting people in my comments saying if Bernie loses, it's because of moderates and centrist Democrats. And oh yeah, Bernie yesterday came after the Democratic Party establishment. So it is just astounding to me that when we're facing Trump, the first thing he does is he turns to his left and goes after moderate and conservative Dems. It's Corbyn all over again. And I was pretty hesitant to make comparisons between Corbyn and Sanders, but, I'm seeing, as I said on Twitter, I talked during the last election to people who were decades in the Labour Party, who'd spent hours and days knocking on doors, who remember what it was like to win under Tony Blair and have a Labour government. And then Corbyn comes along, and they felt like they were pushed out of their own party. And yeah, they went and voted for Labour, but they didn't feel motivated to go out and knock on doors. And so this sort of assumption that you can treat people terribly and tell them that they're neoliberal shills and that they want people to die and that they're evil and that they're basically Republicans, and then turn around and expect them to come and work for your candidate. And then if you don't, you're to blame. It's a sick mentality. It's a really not healthy or helpful, and it won't build a coalition. What Bernie is going to achieve is his purification of the DNC, and Trump will get a second term. That's what I fear. So Bernie's going to come along, if he gets a nomination, and instead of turning again to the right and fighting Trump, he's going to turn to the left, and he's going to take all of Democrats' ability to raise money outside of personal donations out, which is unilateral disarmament and means the Democrats won't be able to compete on the air. And then hand over all power and authority to the GOP. That's my worst case scenario. And people can tell me I'm wrong and evil and yada, 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 yada. I've heard it all. Like, I don't care anymore. So I'm here, I'm watching, but I see potential disaster if we put Sanders as our nominee. And anyone who says different is kind of not dealing with the reality of the fact that he's only getting, here we go, 40% of the Democratic Party. And he's still got to win over independents and even some conservative-leaning Republicans to get swing states. No. Hating on Michael Bloomberg and other billionaires won't get you there. It won't get you there. But we'll see. We'll see. Anything else? Entrance polls showed Sanders winning Latino votes by 54%, 40 points ahead of Mayor Pete, who's got real issues with the voters of color, no doubt. Sanders also won among white votes. Biden led among black voters. The fervent support among younger voters was evident among the state's voters under 30, who made up only 17% of the electorate. And this is where the problem comes from. 66% of them favored Vermont Senator. And it's great that you got 66%, but when you only make up 17% and you get drowned out by a bunch of old people. Biden led among caucus goers over 65, with around a quarter supporting the former vice president. 1 in 5 went for Amy Klobuchar, who should get out of the race now. 1 in 8 for Buttigieg, Sanders, and Tom Steyer, who should also get out of the race now. And 1 in 10 caucused for Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren. All right, Sanders won 44% among non-white voters, a blow to Biden. What about turnout? How was turnout? So the whole thing about Bernie is that he claims he can turn out new voters and turn out people who've never voted. And I have yet to see that in any of the contests so far. Iowa voter turnout was on par with prior years, but not as high as in 2008. I think New Hampshire, too, had good turnout, but nothing spectacular. And from what I could see, although there was a big push for early voting, I don't see any stories yet, and we'll wait to see about turnout being really super high. So, yeah, I'm not optimistic at this point. I think we're heading, but we'll see. Again, a week is a long, long time in politics. Super long. And we'll see where we are in 2 weeks' time, let alone a week's time. The supervisors are social psychologists who specialize in discursive analysis, the Lucky Wanderer said. Yeah, that's great. Well, then I think in terms of that analysis of incels in their kind of maybe how their language reflects their worldview and their perceptions of themselves and others, would be interesting to see it done in a systematic sort of theoretical way with conceptual definitions and illustrations. So, when I, for instance, I did an analysis of people who described their first time voting. No, it wasn't their first time voting. It was their earliest political memory. And it's when people start a story, they give you some background to it. And what I noticed from reading the transcripts back was that people kind of told one of 3 stories. They either told a story where they were the center part of it, like, oh, I was always interested in politics. As from a very early age, I was interested in, I was reading politics or whatever else. So there was sort of like the story of political awareness that was generated in the person themselves. They were personally agentic in terms of being the source of their own awareness and information. Then there were people who cited a particular individual. Like I said, oh, I had a teacher who got me interested, or I had someone else recruited me to get involved. And then there were people who talked about their family situation. Like, I grew up in a socialist household, or I grew up in a labor household, I grew up in a conservative household. I remember my mom taking me on marches. I remember my dad taking me out canvassing. And so the socializations, were either like familial, they were relational, or they were agentic. And by looking at the structures of the story and the language that they used inside them and who was kind of given prominence in these stories in terms of the role they played, you could see the way that people talked about their own political awareness sort of fell into these three patterns. So, hi, Cassiopeia. Mwah. Good morning. All kinds of stuff. I don't know. All right. So, yeah, good luck with that. I really geek out on methodology. I really like research design. Like, if I didn't have my current job, I like what I do now. I love where I work, and I'm planning on basically staying here till I retire, because why would I go somewhere else when I'm completely happy? But if I did have to look for other work, I would actively look for a job in a research grants foundation, research grants development office. Oftentimes universities will have people who specialize in the paperwork associated with applying for grants, because those grants are so complicated and hard to get, and there are a lot of rules and regulations, and it's more efficient to have one person or two people who know those things inside and out than for every academic to try to master them for each funding body. So in the case of the UK, there's the ESRC, there's Liverhume, there's a British Academy, there's the Marie Curie Fund. There's a lot of foundation, and they all have their own rules. A lot of places to apply for grant funding when you want to do research. They all have their own rules, their own regulations, all relating to the EU and internally and stuff, and how their mission works. But in addition to the financing part of it, there's just the credibility of your research design. And I love research. I love looking at research designs and analyzing them and thinking about the kinds of data they'll produce and what kind of analysis you can produce on the back end. And so just reading everybody else's research designs and giving commentary on them, that would actually, I know that sounds totally nerdy, but I would really like that job. Especially when I wasn't the one putting all the hours of effort into, it's so much work to do these grant proposals. So much work to do all the paperwork and the planning, because everything has to be costed and everything has to be made plausible and everything has to sound, like you have to really plan things out month by month with Venn diagrams, or not Venn diagrams, but Gantt charts and deliverables and work packages and costings and person months and timetables, and they're horrible to write. But to just read them was fun. When I taught quantitative and qualitative research methods, they had 3 essays that they stock. So I taught research methods at Birkbeck College for the sociology and politics students, and they had sort of 3 options in terms of what they could do as a final project. They could do 2 essays on these subjects, or they could do a final project on a research design. And I always encourage them to do the research design because it's good practice. And I mean, I didn't mark anybody down if they did the straight up essays, but because there was also a research design question on the exam every year, it was good practice to do it in your essay. So having the knowledge of the fact that they're going to what they're going to be tested on, I also encourage them to do the research design essay, because it would be good practice for them thinking of one on the spot when they had to do it for their exams. So 95% of the students did a research design, and I always encourage them to do it in their area of specialty. So if they're doing international relations, they do an IR design. If they're doing political behavior, if they're doing a one group or whatever else. And that was wonderful to me to mark because unlike every other essay that you have to mark as an academic, where you get 4 or 5 questions and then you just have piles and you have 10 people or 20 people answering the same question over and over and over. And each one you have to mark fresh, but you've heard it. By the last one, you've heard it all. Every single research design was new and interesting and a challenge, and I really kind of unpacked their thinking and looked at, how are you connecting your definitions to your testable statement, to the data that you're going to collect. And I'm babbling now. But yeah, might send me my research design. Yeah, please do. honestly, like, I will research design for entertainment and analyze research designs for entertainment. And obviously, whatever your supervisor says is what you should do. Whatever advice you get from anyone else, whatever your supervisor says is what you should do. That's the advice you should take, because they know in particular, they know your discipline and everything else. But yeah, send it through. That would be nice. All right. So I've got a party to go to, you guys. Anyone have any interest in seeing the corset I bought? I did dress up for you guys last week. But yeah, I'm going to this sexual fantasy theme. I did air quotes because party in the evening, and I had to go shopping to get stuff to wear because I normally don't get that. And I had it was a lot of fun. So I went with a mate of mine. The person who found out about the party, he's a good friend. I won't drop his name because I don't know that he wants to be mentioned. Not that there's like millions of people with the same name. But yeah, so this mate of mine, we've been friends since... He's one of the first people I met when I moved to Cologne. So I think we've been friends since like November of 2011 now. And he mentioned that he's trying to convince some friends to check out this sexual fantasy theme party. And his friends were a little bit on the, I don't know. And I was like, I'll check it out. I'm open-minded. I'm curious. I've never been to something like that. And when else am I gonna, it's just landed in my lap. But as a consequence, we were like, okay, what are we going to wear? If we're going to go to this for sure, what are we going to wear? And how do we get in? Because there are women bouncers at this event. And the women, because the whole point of it, the atmosphere is meant to make women feel safe. And that women should feel comfortable at this party, and that people who've gone have said, it is when you get into a group of like people who do BDSM or any kind of kink or any kind of thing where you're open to new stuff. I find they're super, super bringing the green dildo. Yeah, they're really good about consent and boundaries and permission and respect. It's like if you go on a nude beach, you're going to get more privacy and respect than if you go to a public beach and get wolf whistled, as it were. So they have two sets of bouncers. Bouncer one, set of bouncers one are two women at the front door, and they're there to screen out drunken groups of men, people who are there to be voyeurs, people who are not really dressed for a sexual fantasy theme, but are just trying to dress to get in. People who basically would not be in the vibe. And if you make it past the first set of bouncers, you have to show them what you're going to wear. As well, you're going to open up your coat and describe, because obviously it's it's February, it's damn cold out, you can't be showing a lot of skin outside, but inside the club, lots of skin is encouraged. In fact, it's kind of a requirement to get in the door. So you have your first set of fashion wardrobe checks, then you go inside to the Garderobe, the cloakroom, and no phones are allowed inside at all. 0 mobiles are permitted. So you have to turn over, sort of everything, your coat, and you can get changed and put on your sexy stuff at the second set of bouncers. And then after you've cleared that Garderobe, the two-step authentication process, you're allowed to go in the club. And it sounds like the club is going to be amazing. There are, it's described as having 2 dance floors at least, 1 chill out area where there's just like couches, a completely different room to chill out in and just like sit on the couch, or I don't know, do other things on the couches. And then they even have an outdoor area where they're going to have like an outdoor grill, and people are going to be like roasting bratwurst or something. You can buy food. So I will report back. It should be a really interesting experience if we can get in the door. I think we'll be able to get in because the second part of the story. Shopping for a costume. Yeah, because my friend who wanted to attend this was trying to convince other friends. When I finally said, "Well, I'll go with you," he's, "Oh, that'd be awesome! I really wanted to check this out, but I didn't want to go by myself because there's no way they're gonna let a dude in on his own to this party." And so I'm kind of gonna, be the woman who's like, "No, he's okay. He's with me. We're fine. He's not gonna perv out on people." But we didn't have anywhere. I didn't have anything appropriate to wear. Neither did he, even though we both enjoy Pride. We don't really dress up for Christopher Street Days or Gay Pride here. And we went, so we're like, okay, we got to go shopping. We're going to go shopping. Not too far from where I live, there's a fetish shop. And so we made like, okay, Wednesday night, let's go to the fetish shop and get our costumes ready. And we did. We met over at the fetish shop, and we went through the items and found a couple different things. He found a black and red bikini, like a sort of like almost like a brief, not a boxer, but instead of it being fabric 100% of the way around, on the thigh side, like on the sides, it's laced up. So he has that, and then he got some sort of shirt, like it might have been, oh yeah, it was like a black net kind of sheer short sleeve shirt, and he had ordered a very colorful kimono to wear to kind of bring it all together. And so that was his. And as for mine, I found a really, really beautiful corset. And so the word kink has some really negative connotations, I think. I guess I've kind of felt like the word kink has been reclaimed, at least in my circles, in terms of it being a more positive word. But yeah, it might be a negative word. I think maybe when I was growing up, something being kinky was, designated as sexually atypical. But I think kink has been pretty much reclaimed in a very positive way by a lot of people. And at least in my understanding of it, in my circles, and the way I use it is positive. All right, so you guys want to see? You want to see what I bought? Should I get it out? I'll show you my whole costume. You guys can give me your thoughts on whether or not you think I'll be able to pull this off. I do have a picture of me wearing it, and I sent it to a friend. She said I looked hot. So at least I got the lady, the fellow WOMs going, yeah, that looks really nice. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. Why don't we... It's 22. I'm pretty lazy today. I'll go ahead and warm up my coffee. And I'll get out, because I didn't only get my corset, I actually got some other accessories as well. So I'll get those out. I don't think I'm going to be using the other accessories, most of the other accessories, but it was a lot of fun to go in and look through the various, nipple tassels and crops and latex outfits that they had. It was really like, we weren't like mocking it and laughing or anything like that. We weren't like pure, like little teenagers and stuff. But it certainly was new experience for me. And I guess I've got that sort of openness to new experience, part of my personality. That's why I go hang gliding, or I do random stuff. And so anyway, I'm going to stop talking now. I'm going to switch over. We'll give you guys a little bit of music so you don't hear my coffee machine running. I will assemble all of the things for my costumes, and you guys can give me your impression. How about that? Fetish is popular. Yeah, I think especially like a lot of things are mainstreaming, furries. People defend furries, and I think they should, but 15 years ago, I don't think people would. So I think there's a real sex positive movement generally, and I think across generations as well. It's not just the younger generation. I think that there's a lot of people in older generations too who feel liberated by where by their being released from a patriarchal dichotomy of masculinity and femininity being mapped onto, a sort of gender realism. Is that how people call it? Like gender realism, like race realism? Like, no, gender is real the way race is real. No. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to turn on the music. I'll slide it in. I'll fade it in as opposed to just dropping it on you guys, because it's probably going to be some awesome blues. Come here. Yeah. All right, give me two. All right. I love blues. I love jazz. I like certain kinds of jazz. I like a bluesy kind of jazz. Sometimes jazz can be just a little much when it's all full on, but generally really like it. So what do you guys? I see you guys are talking about furries in the comments. Fursuits are not. There's so much I don't know about that community, but what I do know is that they were wrongly and horribly made a butt of a joke by right-wing assholes, so that immediately, like, knowing the kinds of people they target immediately makes me want to be an ally of people who are furries or whatever, you know, like align with or have interest in. All right. So where should we start? All right, I haven't exactly worked out what I'm going to wear. I got sort of a base to work with that I purchased, and then working with other things I already own. So, for instance, among the things I already owned were black leather, or not leather, I don't wear leather, black gloves for my 20s look. Although I learned actually gloves weren't really a thing in the 20s until like really, unless you're doing a super, super formal thing. So, yeah, elbow length gloves, would you call them? Yeah, so I already had these, so that was easy enough to go, okay, I can build on the black. All right, so got those in. And I guess the star of the show really, actually, well, the second star of the show, are my boots. This side. Check out these boots. Are these not just absolutely gorgeous? So what they've got here is like a smoother fabric, and they've got a bit of velvet. Oh, you can't see. And they are just awesome. These are my sexy kinky boots. And again, black and red, which is consistent with what I bought at the fetish shop for this costume and I'm putting together. So these, I love these. Desigual, I remember I got them for like on sale for 30-some%. Yeah, they zip up the back. How awesome is that? How sexy is that? Look at that. You slide your leg in and then you just zip it right up. They're really cool boots. I almost never wear them. So it's always nice to have an occasion to get out my elbow length gloves and knee-high boots. Those. And I guess the star of the show really is this. Let me get it ready. How's it best to show this? I think if I sorry y'all, I gotta get this set. It's kind of hard to do without it being on a hanger. This baby right here, yeah, you can see that. It's yeah. Let me move the mic out of the way. Yeah. All right. So here's the corset. It's gorgeous. It's got this really difficult. I do need a second person though. Like there's no way I can get this on myself. This is a team effort because I don't know if you can see it, but the hooks are metal, right? And because they're all like put up in a certain flat direction, they've already started to curve a bit because of like the top bit bends out and then it goes into my waist and then it comes back out for the hips. So I really need somebody to help me like lace this up, and then once that is done, then I can finish it off in the back here. And it also has this lovely panel, so you get a full red effect all the way down as opposed to opening up to the skin, which is nice. And it's got some lovely black lace on the bottom and straps that I'm not sure I'm gonna wear. You know what would be helpful? I've got it upside down. All right, here we go. This will make more sense. All right, yeah, there we go. So now you can see that's where the boobies would go. And then the metal hook and eye complicated thing. So yeah, I'm going to need someone to help me dress up in this. And then the lace in the bottom. So now it'll look better when I turn it around. Sorry, I was so flummoxed. I got the orientation of the outfit wrong. And then there's the back. Yeah. So that's the top, as it were. I also, and so it's going to be like a 20s theme. So I'll have my, can I do this with my headphones? I have my flapper. No, I can't. But I'll have my flapper look here on my forehead. My gloves. My lacy corset. My sexy boots. I also don't know if I take off my glasses and spend the night not being able to see anything, I could wear a mask with the costume, but it's white, so I don't really know that it would go, and I'm not motivated enough to go buy a black or a red one to match it. But so that's an option. And bottoms. Yeah, so for the bottoms, I do have nylons that I'm planning on wearing. I bought some black nylons, and then I'm gonna play around. I have these these boy shorts, sort of briefs, which might be a nice contrast, like with a very feminine corset and the gloves and the look. Like the boy shorts over nylons and boots might be cool, but it might not. And then depending on how drunk I am, and I would have to be pretty drunk, but I might keep it in my purse just in case. I do have I got these as where did I get these? Some kind of like bonus that people threw in, like when I bought something. I can't remember, but they've been sat in my drawer forever. And well, anyway, they have a little, that's the front, if you can imagine, for the ladies, and then that's the back. But I'm not quite sure how I would work all that in. And I'm not quite sure I'm that brave. Well, we'll have to see how brave I end up being on the night, or if I just end up going, no, I think I'll wear my boy shorts. But it could look really sweet to have this in the back. And, oh yes, I have my black fan as well. So, I think I have a lot to work with already. But then for the party, just because I wanted to make sure that, it's sexual fantasy, and you don't want to get there and be at the door and then get thrown out because you aren't enough kink. We did get a 6-piece accessories. So this has got restraints, cuffs for your wrists and ankles, other, I don't know, straps that are in here, a ball gag. There's a ball gag in here. I think I probably wouldn't use this because it's going to ruin my lipstick. But you never know when someone else, maybe it'll help with my friend who's going kind of up his costume a bit. There's a really nice blindfold that actually is way nicer than some of the travel ones I've had, because it's very fitted. So I actually, this is a good investment, this blindfold. And there's a little bit of a whip, but it's not very expensively kind of, looking to see if I have it here. Apparently I don't. Yeah, so I thought that just to make sure we could get into the door, investments in those accessories for the costume would be very fun. So we'll see. Okay, now that I'm done with my show and tell, I will look at the chat and see what you guys have to say. Let's see. Every fandom has its dickheads. True. Sexual deviant narrative spread by Christians, completely punctured. I agree. Some sweet stompers. I want some. Oh, the boots. Yeah. I mean, I can't decide if my favorite part of the costume is the corset, which, by the way, I rock. I rock this corset. I will definitely find other ways of wearing this under things or alongside of things, because it's actually, like, once I'm in it, the other thing about it is if it's properly done up, I've noticed, it's also very comfortable. In some ways, it's more comfortable than underwire bras that really dig into your skin and require, like you have to strap it in, whereas this has got so much support underneath it and actually like it doesn't dig into my skin or stuff. So I love the corset. But after the corset, yes, my boots. Love my boots. Oh yeah, so Darius is joining us late. Nice boots. What's the occasion? There's a sexual fantasy themed party that I'm going to tonight, and I have to dress up for it. So I'm trying to find my boundaries, which might shift depending on how much alcohol I have. But I do know that they said if you want to get booted out from the club, show up drunk, and show up in a group of people acting stupid. That's the perfect way to not make it into the party. So I'll probably wait and drink when I get inside. Sexual fantasy themed party, understood, right? Yep. Mother has no idea what a binder is. Oh, she calls my binder a corset. Or binder, sorry. I was thinking binders full of women, but your binder in that way. You want a corset? I'm in a position. Yeah, I guess I'm going to talk too about the fact that I'm not really going to promote my Patreon anymore. But, okay, so it's also my birthday tomorrow, which means that if I stay at the sexual theme fantasy party till midnight, I can have a sex themed party group of people sing me happy birthday, which would be but I don't know, what was this, like 40 euros or something? But at least I can, like, I finally to a point in my life where I can afford things on occasion. And yeah, this corset's lovely. Can't help but feeling I'm missing out on so much human experience by being asexual. I think in this case, although I have heard that it is occasional that people are doing things at the party, for me it's more of an experience. Both my friend and I were both talking about this because he's not been to this party before either. He's talked to people who've been to it, but he himself has not attended. He went to Berlin and was going to go to the Kit Kat Club, but then the people he was visiting decided not to go, so he never made it. And I was like, tell me about it when we get back, and he never did it. So we're going to check this out, and it's mostly just being open to the experience. Like, I've just never been to a party like this, and I'm curious, I'm interested, and it sounds like, it's completely acceptable to go there and not get laid or hook up or do anything and just have a good time. Just enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy the openness, and everyone being really comfortable and respecting each other's boundaries. And that sounds like a cool experience to me. So I don't know that it's so much about sex itself for me as much as it is about having a really interesting experience with a community where people feel safe and respect each other. And I know that from my own experience with pushing my personal boundaries, when I go to like the sauna. The first time I went to a German sauna and had to take all my clothes off in order to enter the area, it was super uncomfortable for me because I wasn't sure how I would be judged. Mostly that's what I was worried about. I was worried about people looking at me and judging my body. But when I experienced it, I went with 2 women the first time, and so the 3 of us were together, so I felt more comfortable. I realized that it was completely respectful, that I wasn't being sexualized in any way, that nobody was being sexualized, and that it was being treated as very accepted and natural to be naked in that location, and that people were comfortable with it. And that whole comfort gave me a sense of comfort, and then it's just sort of like, okay. And now when I go to a sauna, if I have to keep my clothes on, I'm really disappointed. Like, what's the point? I want to be naked. So I'm hoping, so don't feel like you have to miss out because you're asexual. And in this case, it's not about forcing anybody or even drawing out of anyone sexuality. It's more about the respect for people's sexuality. So I don't think that you would be unwelcome if you wanted to attend. Happy birthday to Mies. Thank you very much, Mithril. Oh man, getting old. And then tomorrow, yes, I'm on my way to Amsterdam. I've got a conference, hence why I won't be doing any live shows or anything until at least the end of the week. All right. I didn't really want to talk about Trump, but I think we're going to have to. It's almost 1 o'clock. I want to talk a little bit seriously about things. Parties like this are fantastic. Love them. I agree. I'm hoping. I'd much rather talk about a sex-themed party, guys, than the encroaching fascism on the United States. Yeah, I really have to organize my permanent residency permit so that I can stay in Germany to hide from the fascists, ironically enough. Can we just keep talking about kink? Like, that's such a more comfortable conversation for me than Trump. So as long as you guys keep putting stuff in the chat, I'll keep reading it out because I really am displacing this. Darius writes, parties like this are fantastic. Love them. I agree. The Lucky Wanderer writes, I have a few friends in the kink community where I live. They always invite me when they know I am vanilla AF, and they say the same thing. No need to participate. Yeah. Again, if you don't feel comfortable watching other people's sexuality, or if you have a disgust reflex to those sorts of situations, which I know is a psychological phenomenon, then it wouldn't make you feel comfortable. But if you are like indifferent to it, or at least curious and open to other people's being open, then are you going to look back on your deathbed and regret saying yes or no to that experience? And that's how I look. I'm not saying that this is the rule you should use. But for me, I would rather go to the party tonight and realize it's not my scene than have never gone. But that's just me, though. That's how I work. Let's have a weekend where we don't talk about the Anglosphere's descent into fascism. Wouldn't that be nice? There is that double, we need our mental health. We actually need to live through and be functional as we resist authoritarianism. And I kind of conflate authoritarianism and dictatorship and fascism, and I should probably be more succinct and clear in my definitions. But as we resist authoritarianism, it's so draining that we do need to acknowledge the mental health tolls on us and the stress on us, and take care of ourselves, because it's not a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. What else? Lucky Wanderer. I also found out one of my good friends in the kink community. And when I asked how he got into it as a dom, he said being a D&D DM really made the role play easier. That's fantastic. Yeah, in that case, I can definitely see that. There's this running joke that the dungeon mistress or the dungeon master is God, and you don't piss them off. And from the side of the dungeon master, you have a very important role. It is a lot of, I can actually see the parallels now, because as the dom in a BDM situation, you are actually the one who needs consent. It's the sub who gives you consent. So even though you assume you are acting with a lot of power and authority, that power and authority only comes from the person who is being submissive. It doesn't come from your dominating them, if that makes sense. And so they are entrusting you with power, and then your job is to keep them feeling safe while exercising the power they've given you. That's my understanding. If I'm wrong, please let me know. I feel like I should get out the restraints now as we're talking and just put them on, just to make it visually consistent with the theme of the day. I think these are very nice, by the way. They've got a nice velvet soft part of them. I think that are meant to make it, much nicer for the restraints. For a cheap little accessories box, I got 6 things for like €35. That's not bad. I'm just really disappointed that I don't have the whip. I was gonna use that. I can't find it. And obviously I can't use the ball gag on air. That's so. And then as a DM, your players are basically putting all of this power, authority. They're listening to you. They're following you. But it's their consent to your leadership and your whims as the DM that you use to make the game for them. So is D&D is it a gateway drug to kink? I hope so. I would love that. Mithro writes, I can't wait to see the PragerU video on kinks. Yes. How are they gonna reconcile the left wants to take away your penis with the left wants to free your penis to do all the kinky stuff? Or free all penises, not maybe yours. Maybe it's somebody else's penis. But yeah, that would be, I would love to see Dennis Prager do a video on kink. That would actually be pretty entertaining. Let's see. I know I'm mostly sub. One of these online quiz things suggested I'd be a rubber doll or a bunny. Well, was it a BuzzFeed quiz? I would be careful about those. I have the concept of a fursona captured my avatar, which I drew myself, but I'm not a skilled artist. I think you're underestimating yourself, Lonely Wolf. You're a beautiful artist, but it expresses what I want. That's right. It was Rope Bunny. Rope Bunny was Rope Bunny was the moniker category you were given in the test. Is that what it was? Yeah, the quiz. I told you about my friend who went to Berlin. He was going to go to the Kit Kat Club, but the people he was staying with decided at the last minute not to go. But what his friend did want to do while he was visiting is she wanted to go to a workshop on bondage, and in particular like different ways of tying people up with ropes. And so he's like, okay, yeah, let's find out what that's about. So they went to this afternoon workshop on bondage, and there was a group of people. They kind of got talked through it, and then they just took turns tying each other up. Some with their clothes on, some with their clothes off. Berlin, man. What do you expect? Reminds me of a protest done by sex workers outside the Houses of Parliament. Lots of face sittings. Whoa, what? I don't know where that went. Rope Bunny Brown Wolf fursona. Yep, there you go, says Sib Wolf. The government's been forced to abandon their plans that led to the protest. Yeah, I think, in terms of, I really do wish we would have more positive views of sex workers. I saw actually on the news this week that Amsterdam is doing something that I think is pretty good. So Amsterdam suffers from over-tourism, which is a concept I hadn't really thought about because I'm not in marketing and tourism industry, but it does make sense. I would imagine that Venice would be another place that, it was it this one? Maybe it was this one. Yeah, ban red light district tours. Venice has more tourists than residents. You get these floods of cruise ships or whatever else, or just bus loads or normal tourism floods into an area, creates a financial incentive to destroy all residential housing or turn it all into tourism stuff, and then people who actually live there can't live in the city center. They can't live in the tourism areas. And happily News Week, that's only couple days in the month left, and I never read your crappy outlet anyway. Anyway, the reason I was on this is we were talking about sex workers and sex workers' rights and their dignity and respect and stuff. And I saw this, it was from the 19th of this month, so a couple days ago. They are banning tourists from doing guided tours through the red light district, which I was like, why is that? And then when I read, I thought, yeah, there's a really good reason why you should do that, and I support it. So just to read from this, Amsterdam is banning all guided tours of the city's red light districts from the 1st of April, including De Wallen, the city's largest red light district. Those who don't could be subject to a fine of up to $8,100. I'm sure they converted that obviously from euros. The new rules on red light district tours aim to curb overcrowding in these areas, which are a nuisance to residents and sex workers, and to, quote, create more space on the street, unquote, and, quote, ensure a more reliable working environment for sex workers, unquote, the municipality of Amsterdam announced. Now, what they didn't mention here is the reason why they banned the tours through the red light district. And it's, right here. Okay, they do have it. Quote, "It's disrespectful to treat sex workers as a tourist attraction, and therefore tours at De Wallen will be banned." The whole idea was that, you get people who are tourists who come into the red light district. They're not looking to use the services. They're not looking to hire sex workers. What they want to do is take pictures of them for free. And also, the workers have been subject to abuse and name calling and degrading, people who go on tours and then degrade the women in the windows. I don't know if you know much about how the red light district in Amsterdam works, but you literally have women standing. Well, sometimes they're sitting and they're texting people on their mobile phones, but they literally sort of sit in a front area with glass and in a small room, and they can interact with you, but through the glass. And so people would come and take their pictures for free, even though they're working, and abuse them. And it created a really hostile environment, and it clogged the streets with people who weren't going to be who didn't live there and who weren't interested in the services. And so at least the organized tours are being banned. And I just have no problems with that whatsoever. So, individual tourists are still allowed to wander through the red light districts to visit the sex worker windows on their own accord, and tours outside the red light district are permitted. But all tours and its participants within the Centrum district in the tourist-heavy city center, that's where I stay every time I go to Amsterdam, except that this week I'm going to be out by the airport. Boring. Actually, I don't know if it's boring. I've never been out by the airport because I wouldn't go to the central. So if it's super boring, I'll just go into Centrum. Really lovely. I love Amsterdam. The tourist-heavy city center must comply with the new stricter rules from the 1st of April. New regulations include a limit of 15 participants per tour, even outside. A smaller group reduces the area that a group uses in the room. It increases the clarity for bystanders and traffic users, which will have a positive effect on the traffic flow. The traffic in Amsterdam downtown is insane. I don't even know why people bother bringing cars to that part of the city. I honestly don't. It will create a safer traffic situation. Yeah, so despite earlier measures, residents, entrepreneurs, and sex workers are still experiencing great nuisance from guided tours. The city hopes the latest measures will strengthen the quality of life in the city center and reduce the inconvenience to residents who have had to continue to experience a lot of nuisance from groups in the center of Amsterdam. A survey of around 1,100 tourists aged between 18 and 35 conducted by the city government showed that coffee shops were a big motivator for tourists, with around 2/3 of them visiting the city to use marijuana. This is great. I heard it was about Britons, but this just says tourists. The research also showed that around 1/3 of those surveys would visit Amsterdam less frequently if they were banned from the cannabis cafes, and 11% of them said they would no longer visit at all. So when it comes to that, this is pretty. I mean, you're not actually seeing any workers, but this is pretty typical for the red light district, which, I could visit tomorrow if I wanted to go, but again, that's not where I spend my time in Amsterdam. Nor do I spend it gambling at the poker tables, but when I go with friends, oftentimes that's, treating the sex workers as carnival, attractions. Yeah, and precisely that's why I I support the banning of tour guides, organized tours in that way. Because people feel safer to say horrible things in a group. And as I said, it was just a nuisance. So, put the workers first as far as I'm concerned. Airbnb are destroying the residential housing market in popular sites. I agree. It's also an awesome way for people who don't have income. I know it's easy to crap on Airbnb and all that stuff, but I also know people who, their wages aren't rising as fast as their work, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to get a second job and learn a whole new skill? Or you're going to be like, well, hey, let's, if we go on vacation, let's turn the house over to Airbnb or, do it in that way. So it's hard for me to begrudge people who need to pay for the house that they're living in to find a way, and it also kind of screws over the corporate hotel chains. So swings and roundabouts. I'm getting tired. We've been going for an hour and 15. And yeah, I feel like, I want to keep doing Weekend Winters, but I feel like now that 2019 is behind me, I'm hoping to do, I haven't made constructed videos. Oh, I'll show you the one edited video I've done in ages. So this was, I'll wrap it up with this. I'll promote myself. This whole show is a self-promotion, to be honest. But I made a little video. I made a shoe video. A shoe decided to circulate a video about me last week without proper context. And so I'm circulating one with proper context. So a little bit of background for those of you who don't keep up with drama. Shoe on Head claims to be left. She actually tried to call me out as being like not a Democrat or being a Republican or whatever else. This, I have to show you the picture. Let me do this screen share. Which one? Yeah, this is the one I want. Boom. Yeah, so June wants to lecture me on being on the left, even though she said racist things, hung out with a white nationalist that she's never apologized for, tweeted racist things, is completely anti-feminist, and only bashes the left, or almost exclusively, I should say. Be more accurate to say that June got her career going by bashing women and minorities and the left. And she stopped talking out loud about the women and the minorities thing, except of course she still uses insults, and she can't make an argument when she can use a little insult moniker. And she's still anti-feminist, and she's not owned her racism. So she's circulated a video that somebody deceptively edited related to me presenting the irrational rationales that white nationalists give for not spending money abroad, as and portraying it as my view. Or people who are racist, who don't want to spend, who are happy to spend money on NATO and other white areas, but they don't want to spend money, in other parts of the world. And so I decided to make a video to make it very clear to June what it is that people have criticized her for and why they're still criticizing her now, because she refuses to own her racism. She refuses to be a role model to her fans, to how you become self-aware of your own racism and how you abandon it, and how she shouldn't be tolerating racism in her comments or from her fans anymore. And she won't do any of that because she's a grifter. She's not really left. And I won't believe she's left until she actually starts acting like it. And bashing on the Democratic National Committee and hating on centrist and moderate Dems is not being left. It's being a con artist who exploits the left, internal conflicts for her own monetization. So I might need to change the name of this video. Yeah, I probably should. From Trump to the sex-themed party. All right, so I don't know how loud this is going to be. Oftentimes I'll have to do desktop audio, though. You will want to hear this. I made a video. It has to fit within 1:44. I don't know who it is on Twitter that gets these over 2-minute video abilities. Maybe you have to do a promoted video or be a blue check mark or whatever. I get 1:44. And so I had to make everything in this video fit to 1:44, which means some of the screenshots are really fast, but I hopefully put them up long enough for people to hit pause if they want to. So yeah, she knows what she's being accused of, but she doesn't care. Yeah, she's just a grifter. And I mean, I would say Russian asset, but she isn't that important. All right, so let's watch my video criticizing Shu, which I have pinned as my tweet. And if anyone tells you Shu apologized for her racist comments, please go to my pinned tweets. Save this video. You can use it as you like. Let's see how we are for volume.
That's not racist. She's just ugly. Yeah, it's not racist. First of all, she looks like she will create safe spaces for people of color, away from white people. Their own schools, their own buses.
How does that sound, guys? I mean, it looks okay for me, but I might need to turn it up a bit. I think in Zoom, the volume ends up being much higher than it is. And so oftentimes for Kevin, I have to turn the volume a bit down. So we're going to start over again because I want to make sure that the volume for myself and the volume for the video are about the same in OBS. Hopefully this will be it. So without further ado, here we go. Here's my 1x1 square video. Also, part of the reason I made this is because I want to practice doing viral videos in the lead up to the Trump, into the 2020 criticizing Trump. And so I want to get practice making these 1x1 squares with text underneath. So thank you, June, for also being a case study in how to use this technique and do all the editing. It was helpful. But what I would have liked better is for you to make a sincere apology and take a stand against racism in your content and in your audience and in your followers. Actually seeing you take on racist comments and challenge racism is better than you just saying, I privated the video, I unlisted the video, what more do you want me to do? All right, here we go.
That's not racist. Ugly. She's just ugly. It's not racist. First of all, she looks like she will create safe spaces for people of color, away from white people. Their own schools, their own buses, own water fountains, own benches.
Why did she ever think it was a good idea to hang around with a white nationalist and talk about segregation? As if that wasn't an incredibly painful era in American history. In a lot of ways, social forces are still trying to reinstitute that kind of separate but not equal by shunting people, into poor areas and, in areas that are not well serviced, and education systems that don't serve the public. Sorry, okay. And then, there's this she doesn't address either. At this point, you have to be in serious denial to think Black Lives Matter is anything more than racist supremacist. And AIDS Shreklix filled with guilt. I don't even know what a Shrillex is, with her little 4chan lingo. So there's that one. And, you say, oh, well, June said that in October of 2015 that Black Lives Matter is supremacy trash. She was saying it in 2016 too, and she's still talking about making insulting comments. So let's keep going. I can't find the mouse. There it is. And you gotta own this, and you're like, oh, well, don't make excuses, apologize. Yeah, and this one is a person is talking about Harambe jokes are a thing because people think Black names are funny. And you are kidding yourself if you believe there's any other reason. And then June's like, oh, dead meme police are here back in 2019. Like, can you acknowledge the racism? If you can acknowledge the racism in comparing a Black woman to a gorilla, June, and you think that that's super racist, can you not see the connection here? Or is this little compartmentalization of, what I did, it's, okay, this is a thing, but other racism is fine. Again, it's just appealing to her racist fan base. And the other thing that I also point to is her fans have been defending her for years that what she said wasn't racist. And June now knows it is racist, and yet she doesn't speak up and confront her fans saying, no, actually, it was racist. What I said was terribly racist. What I said is so horribly racist that I am embarrassed. Please don't defend me. In fact, question why you even think that wasn't racist. No. Since she made this comment, her fans have been defending her racism. Yes, I'm fully aware gorilla was historically used to dehumanize Black people. It was used by racists, but I'm not a simpleton. June did not use it in a racist context. You just want to hate on June, even if it means trivializing racism. Yeah, when we criticize June for her racist comments, that's trivializing it. This is the mentality that she is inculcating in her fan base. This is what she needs to confront racism on her main channel to stop. Because if she said that she actually is embarrassed and she never really said that she was sorry for any pain that she caused. She never apologized to Black people for comparing a Black woman to a gorilla. She didn't do any of that. But if you want to know what a proper apology would look like, it would include something like this, because June, sorry, I'm gonna move my camera. I realize I'm cut off in this shot now a little bit. you encourage racism by letting people white knight for you. You know? And I've talked a lot about the way that June gets by on her looks, and she uses sort of the damseling to avoid moral responsibility for her actions and her words. So that's still true. Oh, and then we get the clip of when she was actually on the Voss show.
And, like, in my mind, like, I genuinely didn't think it was racist at the time. Like, I don't know why now, looking back at it, but genuinely, I was just like, it's not racist to say people look like certain animals, like, blah, blah, blah. But looking now, it's, like, really cringy because, like, I had no idea it was such a...
It's not cringy, it's painful. This is it. This whole conversation, if you listen to it, is June feeling bad for herself. Oh my gosh, I said a racist thing. Oh, now I'm experiencing cringe. I've said a racist thing and people are criticizing me, and I find it really annoying. I said several racist things over the course of many years, but people are still holding me to account. There is no conception of the impact of her words or the impact on her fans' actions in defending this kind of racism. That's why this is bull. All June is showing me is that she's a self-absorbed little girl. She's not actually a grown-up who can own her mistakes. And as I say in the end of the video, you can't be progressive if you aren't making progress. And hiding behind other white people to avoid owning your racism, your obvious, blatant racism, hiding behind other white people who give you an N-word pass, basically, to be racist, is not being left, and it's not being progressive. You're a fake progressive. You're not legit. You're not genuine. You don't actually care about these issues. What you care about is destroying the Democratic Party and criticizing the left. And from that, I'm anti-war, I'm pro-healthcare. But you are pro-racism, or at least you're anti-apology for racism and anti-doing anything about the racists in your fan base. So, not progressive.
Overtly racist thing to say. She had to sit me down. Yeah, she had to sit me down and explain to me shoo. That was pretty fucked up. And I was just like, I don't understand. But I was really defensive of being called racist because of it. And she was just like, you could say racist shit without explicitly being a racist person. Like, you said a racist thing, and I was just like, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. And then people are like, oh, she's trying to delete the evidence. It's just like, what do I do? Like, I agree that it was super racist to say now. At the time, I didn't know, but it's like, I don't know, I've been doing this for 6 years now, and that's one of the 3 things people bring up. It's just like, okay, am I really that fucking awful?
How self-absorbed is this woman? She just keeps going on about herself, about the fact that she using a horribly racist statement and her stands out there protecting her from any criticism and pushing back on other people who call it out and being aggressive. The pain that she caused when people see that comparison to a gorilla, but she's the victim here, everyone. We really have to focus on June's feelings. Because if she actually had to own what she did to hurt people, oh my gosh, it's just like, can't you just leave her alone? Can't you just leave her and her unrepentant racism alone and call her the perfect lefty because she wants to vote for Bernie? No.
Day I get it. It's just kind of really frustrating. I want to do a thing where I want to make a video where I kind of react to my old hot takes or something, and I want to maybe throw that in there.
The way that you own an apology is not to make it part of a comedy bit and amongst a bunch of other cringe takes. Can you just exude a less serious attitude to actually the seriousness of racism? That, the sort of white racist bubble that June occupies, where she can call Black Lives Matter as a supremacist movement and then feel attacked, for being completely racist. She's such a snowflake, and she's just damsels all the time. It's just frustrating.
Because, I can't think of any other way to be I'm sorry that I said this, that doesn't come off.
I'm sorry that I said this. How legit is that tone? She's really coming across as being sincere. I mean, just listen to the way that she puts the emphasis on the I'm sorry. Let's just listen to that without interruption.
Or I kind of react to my old hot takes or something, and I want to maybe throw that in there. Because, I can't think of any other way to be I'm sorry that I said this, that doesn't come off as, I don't know, not entertaining or fun for my audience. I want to, kind of incorporate, hey, it's cool to cringe and laugh at yourself because...
Look how cool I am. I acknowledge I said a racist thing, but I won't apologize for it. Oh my God. I can't even believe people defend this woman as left. I really, really can't. All right, so let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Protest workers outside the House of Parliament. Yep. I'm almost fine with all fascists must wear a chastity device. Let's see. Name to change the name of video. She knows what she's been accused of, but she doesn't care. She's just a grifter, and I would say Russian asset. Oh, we've got that already. Squeaky and difficult to translate, to be honest. Well, I only had so much time. I listened to work offs off of Vosh. I feel that dirty. Yeah, I haven't seen the Vosh versus Destiny, but I have to say I'm getting so tired of watching men shout. It's just, I'm so over the shouting. I just shut down. There's a reason why I don't watch Chris Matthews. I stopped watching Chris Matthews in all possible instances years ago. And it's because he just yells down the mic. He just yells all the time. I don't know if it's because he's hard of hearing, and I'm not insulting him. I know people who speak louder because they have hearing issues and so they're compensating. But he just shouts randomly. Also, he has the worst questions. He has the stupidest, pointless, most based in nothing. Anyway. Reverend Al too. I used to watch his show for a while, but he just shouts a lot. He's better now, actually. When I see him on Morning Joe, his tone is a little less, but there's a lot of shouting going on there. And honestly, Bernie's shouting all the time turns me off as well. I just like I can't be shouted at. I'm tired of hearing you yell. This is not the energy I want. So watch that debate, not worth it. Yeah, fair enough. I don't even know if you can call it a debate when you can't hear people because they're so busy screaming over each other, to be honest. So, all right, guys. Well, I don't think we did anything. Why do they label me a wine ad? I come across as a beer drinker. I am a Kolsch drinker, to be honest. Yeah, of course. I know that's not a serious question. This is another reason, June's inability to handle critique. I don't call June names. I call her June or Shoe on Head. I don't develop a little idiotic moniker or nickname for her, but June is a petty, horrible person who can't deal with criticism, so she hides from behind a block and has her stands do all her dirty work for her. Not very progressive, but nothing about June is progressive except for a couple random opinions that she has inside an incoherent ideology. So, yeah, technically I am an aunt. I have 2 nephews. But, yeah, Kolsch aunt. I think you guys need to get on June. It's shut up, June. She's not a wine aunt. She's a Kolsch aunt. June isn't afraid to take responsibility for her past behavior. She just thinks it's offensive to say that her past behavior hurt other people. I actually don't think she will. I think she is afraid to own that. She owns the responsibility insofar as oh, I said a racist thing and now I'm embarrassed. But she doesn't take it to the next step of me saying a racist thing on my channel influences my fans, and I can actually see the effect of that influence in the comments the racist comments they make defending me, and putting that together, saying and making the connection that she, June, needs to do an anti-racism video on her main channel and take up anti-racism as a active public position. So one of the things I'll be doing next, by the way, just because I'm going to have some time to kill, but this claim that June is on the left and June is, I don't know if they call her progressive, but I'm going to analyze her content on her Brainlet channel, and I'm going to see what percentage of it in the last, we've had the impeachment investigation, the impeachment trial, we've had multiple Trump scandals, multiple instances of the Trump administration encroaching on our constitutional rights. When I went to June's channel, all I saw was bashing of Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris. So I thought I would do a little analysis of her content and see whether or not she really is progressive or if she's just left bashing under the name of a Bernie Sanders supporter because that's where the money is these days. If you want to use them in, oh yeah, by the way, yeah, Philip Moriarty responding to the Goop Labs. He gets very angry at the Bullock's physics being peddled. Yes, please go check that out. He emailed me a copy, and I meant to get back to him. I should do that next week. And yes, go check out Philip Moriarty doing the Goop Lab. I should promote that here on the channel. All right, I think I gave the obligatory 20 minutes ahead of the end of the show. Hey, I think I'm gonna get going now, guys. And let me swap back over here to this one. Yeah, so I said I was going to go, and then I babbled on for another 20 minutes or so, 10 minutes or so. And now I'm going to get going. I'm going to decide. I'm going to start to contact my friend. I don't think the club opens till 7:30 or maybe 9. I'm not quite sure what time it opens. But get going on my day putting together my costume. So, everyone, I'm going to be out of town, so probably no live content. If I put together an edited video, I'll upload that. But until the next Weekend Winters, you guys, I have... Oh, one last thing. Sorry, I did mention this, and I want to follow up on it. Sorry. When I started my channel 5 years ago, I was making less money than I currently do. I don't make a whole bunch more now, but I did make less than I did now. And I had a lot of equipment to buy and uptake for the channel, and so I opened up a Patreon account to help offset things like this mic and this stand and this holder and various other things I have to help me do my videos. I don't have them with me, but they're here somewhere. And over time, I've acquired the equipment I need. So my equipment costs have been decreasing over time. And I've also, because I live in a country where I'm a civil servant, so we get decent pay and we get negotiated increased cost of living adjustments, whatever else, I've realized with my January paycheck, like I don't really need to do my Patreon anymore. And so I'm going to leave it open for people who want to. And to be honest, what I tend to do is I support other creators. So a big chunk of my Patreon money I redistribute to other creators, and I've also done the Resistance Fund out of it. And then part of it is the charges. So basically what I've decided to do is I'm going to leave it open for people who want to make a contribution, say help offset any costs and things, or just appreciate my content. But I'm not going to push it, and I'm not going to ask you guys to give me money for it. At the end of the day, there are other creators who need it more than I do. So if you are currently a supporter, it sounds kind of weird, but stop supporting me and support somebody else. I'm okay now. Like, I wasn't okay when I started. Like, when I really needed that help, and the people who supported me financially, I can't ever thank you enough. And I hope that the content that you've supported is a good investment for the money you gave. But yeah, I'm okay now. So give it to someone else. I'll probably do more of a formal video on that at some other time. All right, have a fun evening and a great trip. Be safe. Thank you so much. Hey, 250, you're just arriving as we are wrapping it up, so you have to go back to the start and watch the beginning. So yes, people in the chat, you are awesome. People watching later, you are awesome. I've been Christy. Have a great week, and we'll see each other again at least next Sunday, if not before. All the best, you guys. Bye-bye. Except now I gotta move the screen in order to get to the window to shut it off. Okay, now, goodbye.